Paperback Reader. We start off with one of the lesser-known Edgar Rice Burroughs books, The Moon Maid. The cover art on this is by Roy Krinkle. And I made my own cover for a hardback version of this using older artwork here, but I like the Krinkle artwork so much I put it on the back cover. The follow-up story to The Moon Maid is The Moon Men. These are by Ace Publishing, one of my favorite publishers. And I found some brand new artwork for my hardback edition dust jacket. And I really like this guy, so I put him on the spine. But I love the back cover so much that I put the Ace artwork for it, minus their logo and a few other things. So. Here is Carson of Venus, cover art by Frank Frazetta. Absolutely beautiful. This is Ace F247 from 1963. Now, for my hardback version, I went with the older artwork from the 1920s. Just couldn't resist it. I tried to duplicate the spine just like the original would have. For the back cover, I chose the Argosy image for the Argosy magazine that carried the story, without the pulp logo and trade dress. Here's another version of that Carson of Venus painting for a later edition of Ace Publishing. And here's Escape on Venus, the Ace paperback, cover art by Roy Krinkle. That is Ace F268 from 1963. And my hardback edition, I made this cover for my hardback. It's the original. Tried to duplicate the spine just like the original, but for the back cover, I just love this Roy Krinkle art from the Ace paperback. Here's Pirates of Venus, hardback. And I want you to pay close attention to this Ace copy of Pirates of Venus. That'll show up later as kind of a little question mark. Now here's the Ace Pirates of Venus by Roy Krinkle. Oops, another earthquake over here. I used that image for the spine from the Ace book. But on the back cover, I went with the British illustration. Since these are one of a kind, I'd like to kind of just make them so special that no one's going to have anything like this. And these aren't really worth a lot of money. These are just sentimental to me, really. Lost on Venus. the hardback, and I couldn't resist this back cover illustration. Just rich colors. And this, I altered the original image on front by making the spine. And here's the Ace paperback for Lost on Venus. Now, of the Carson series, and here's the other, the later edition of Ace, made him a little taller and same artwork. That arc is by Frank Frazetta, by the way. I almost forgot to mention that. So out of the 5 Carson of Venus books, only 4 were hardback. So if you want to keep on reading, you have to go for the paperback. Before I get to that, here's another copy of Escape on Venus. Obviously Frazetta. So here is the 5th book in the Carson series, The Wizard of Venus. And I have a later edition, same art basically. So I wish they would have made a hardback. I would have made a cover for that as well. So now we're into the John Carter of Mars. This is the hardback edition. I made the cover to look like the original as best I could. On the back cover, I love the British edition paperback, so I used that image. And here is Pirates of Venus again. And remember, I brought this to your attention earlier because they stole that from their own John Carter of Mars series, A Fighting Man of Mars. The Ace paperback, F-190 from 1963, covered by Roy Krinkle. And obviously they decided to steal that and use it for Carson of Venus. So make of that what you will. I guess both could apply, but it's not how I picture Carson of Venus to look. Here's my hardback Mastermind of Mars. All the hardbacks I'll show you, I make my own dust jacket. And I decided to use this type of artwork for the back cover. I had to stretch the image just a little bit. And a foreign edition had that statue on there for the logo, so I just decided to use that for my spine. Here's the Chessmen of Mars by Ace. I have 2 copies of that. And I like that illustration so much that I decided to use it for my back cover to the hardback I have of that. Here's the original St. John artwork. So a lot of the hardbacks I make, I combine the best of more than one artist. And here's Lana of Cathal. There's Thuvia, Made of Mars. I thought this British artwork was just stunning. I love the colors. I had to use it as the front cover. And Ace made a version of this. And see, she's being chased by that four-armed Martian. I liked him so much, I decided to use him on the spine of my hardback. Now this edition was kind of tall and slender, so I hope he shows up okay, but there he is. And I forget to show you the back cover, but I'll make up for it later. Here's the Gods of Mars. Very creepy painting. If you look closely, he's being attacked by a shadowy figure. You can see his silhouette. He's holding a gun to his head. Now here's a double book. It's the Swords of Mars and the Synthetic Men of Mars. So I've got both the titles on the spine. And a cover from Argosy magazine again. They had great art on their pulp magazines. So here's that Thuvia, Made of Mars. This is a more thicker version of that. I forgot to show you the back cover. And then it dawned on me, so here's one of the original paintings they had on the book. But I couldn't resist that British artwork, so that's why it's on the front cover. I realize I'm explaining this to you like a nerd would, but I am part nerd. Here's the Warlord of Mars. Another art by St. John. I showed you the hardback earlier, the Mastermind of Mars. Here's the Ace paperback, art by Roy Krinkle. Now, if you're wondering why Ace didn't put more Tarzan books out and more John Carter of Mars, they didn't exactly have the rights to do it in the first place. And so they got called out on it. The Edgar Rice Burroughs family, they went with Ballantine or Ballantine books. But I prefer Ace, but the Ballantine books are pretty good too. I'll show you those in a second. Here is a Ballantine Mastermind of Mars. You'll see that I used that illustration on a back cover earlier. The Princess of Mars. And the Chessmen of Mars. And the 11th book in the series, actually called John Carter of Mars. Here's an earlier Ballantine edition. Some people really like these. I'm not too crazy about them because they're very subdued in their color. And the artist is Gino Di Achille If I pronounced that, I'm sorry. But so as you can see, all of the covers. This is probably the most brightest of all of them. Probably the coolest of all of them too. The Lana of Gathol. But for the most part, they were extremely subdued. Here's the chessman, very creepy. The spider creature type as the head, or giving you the impression of that. Here's some more Ballantine, earlier editions. These are from 1963, and the cover art is usually by Bob Abbott. Now here is a British edition of The Warlord of Mars. I thought the artwork was outstanding on this. This publisher is called Foursquare, and they're hard to get. So you're very fortunate if you stumble across one here in the United States. So, you can easily get them if you spend the money, but and while I'm showing you a British edition, I thought I'd go ahead and show you the Tarzan British editions I have. These are from Dragon Books. Jules Vopar. Such a large title. They split it up into two editions, part 1 and part 2. here are some pulp reproductions I have. The first appearance of Tarzan was shown in the magazine called All Story. And if you recognize this artwork, this was paid homage to by the Marvel edition Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle #1. And All Story also produced The Warlord of Mars. These are the pulp reproductions I have of those. And you look closely, you see the Martian in the background. And other pulps were producing Edgar Rice Burroughs. Here, the Blue Book produced Tarzan stories. Here's one of the Dell books I have, Tarzan and the Lost Empire. The cover art on this is by Robert Stanley. This is a 1951 Dell. And here's the more well-known Ace edition with art by Frank Frazetta, 1962. By the way, this is book 12 in the Tarzan series. There's over 20 official Tarzan stories, and so this is number 12. Some of the editions, like Valentine, would actually number them. You'd have a big old number 12 on the cover. We'll get to those later. And here's the hardback Lost Empire that I have. And every Tarzan hardback I do, I put a different lion on the spine. And as you can see, I love the Frazetta artwork so much, I chose it for the back cover. Minus the title and the Ace logo. Now, the first hardback edition I ever made a cover for was Tarzan and the Ant-Men. And I really liked this image. I chose it as a wraparound cover. This is from the old pulp magazine days. I'll do my best to show you what it kind of looked like. There's one image. And so this was my very years ago, first attempt at a dust jacket. But then I started doing all these I started doing all these Tarzan books, probably because I'm thinking of the word Ant-Man. But should I redo the Ant-Man book to make it look like all the other Tarzan editions that'll have a white spine with a lion on it? But no, I decided to keep that book as it is. Here's the Beasts of Tarzan hardback edition. I used this image from a British paperback. And there's the unique lion on the spine. And I really liked this artwork from the Ace edition by Frank Frazetta. And I should have that Ace edition around here somewhere. If I were better organized, I would have had that handy. Anyway, here's the Jungle Tales of Tarzan. Artwork by St. John. This is a 1950s artwork edition. I just decided to use it for the back cover. Here's Tarzan, Lord of the Jungle. Artwork by St. John. Tarzan and the Golden Lion. The artwork is very new, but I couldn't resist the logo of the original edition's cover, so I combined the two. A 1950s edition, illustrated. And Tarzan of the Apes. Thought this was a very nice, quiet image of Tarzan. Tarzan and the Lion Man. Tarzan meets an imposter. It's one of the first recorded cases of identity theft. And this back cover is by Frank Frazetta from Ace, back in 1962. And here is that Ace edition. Here's Tarzan the Invincible, covered by Frank Frazetta. Ace 1 or Ace F 189 from 1962. This back cover art of Tarzan the Triumphant was by Edgar Rice Burroughs' relative. And here's the lovely Ace edition. Cover art by Frank Frazetta. Here's The Son of Tarzan by Frank Frazetta. Ace F197 from 1962. Okay, earlier I showed you the Beasts of Tarzan, but I neglected to have the Ace paperback handy, so once again, here it is. The Frank Frazetta cover. A more polished video librarian would have better organization skills. So here's Jewels of Opar. And here's the Ace paperback. The cover art on this Ace paperback book is by Frank Frazetta. This is Ace F204 from 1963. The City of Gold. In the Ace paperback, cover by Frank Frazetta, 1963. Ace F205. Another great Ace paperback, cover by Frank Frazetta. From 1963. Now here's Tarzan at the Earth's Core. This is a crossover book. He wrote a book called At the Earth's Core, and this is Tarzan at the Earth's Core. So the Earth's Core series was a 4 or 5 page or 4 or 5 book series on its own, with a Tarzan crossover right in the middle of it. I'll show you those later. They're sometimes referred to as the Pellucidar series. This is Return of the Tarzan. And here's the original cover. I put it on the back. And now for some of the Ballantine books again. These two covers are by Richard Powers from 1963. Here's a Ballantine edition of The Son of Tarzan, cover by Richard Powers. Here's Tarzan and the Leopard Men, cover art by Bob Abbott. This is a 1970 edition. Another Bob Abbott cover, The Jewels of Opar by Ballantine, 1969. And Tarzan and the Castaways. This book keeps showing up in my previous Paperback Reader episodes. It's by Bob Abbott as well, or Robert Abbott. Tarzan the Untamed by Ballantine, cover by Bob Abbott, 1974. Oh, excuse me, 1969. And here's what we call the black Ballantine editions. There's also a white edition, but I'll show you some of those. These Ballantine books are from the mid-70s. This is 1975. The cover is by Neil Adams. Here is book number 3, The Beasts of Tarzan, from 1975. This cover is also by Neil Adams. Son of Tarzan, cover by Neil Adams. And I have another copy of that. Just put that over there. The Jewels of Opar, or Opar, cover is by Neil Adams. It's 1975. And then Jungle Tales of Tarzan, cover is by Neil Adams. Now this edition, though, is Tarzan the Terrible. This cover is by Boris from 1976. Here's another great cover by Boris from 1977, Tarzan and the Forbidden City. Top that off with another cover by Boris. This is Tarzan the Magnificent. This is book number 21. Now here's some of the white editions of Ballantine. If there's a better name for that, let me know. Here's number 1, cover by Bob Abbott. These are from the 1972 series. So these are about 3 years before the Black series. Cover by Bob Abbott. Here's Tarzan the Untamed, cover by Bob Abbott. Up next we have Tarzan the Terrible, cover by Bob Abbott. Tarzan and the Golden Lion. This is book number 9 in the series by Bob Abbott. Tarzan and the Ant-Men from Ballantine Press, cover by Bob Abbott, 1974. Here's Lord of the Jungle, book 11, covered by Bob Abbott. Book number 12, Tarzan and the Lost Empire, covered by Bob Abbott, 1974. Get those out of the way so we can see some more great Bob Abbott covers. This is book 13, Tarzan at the Earth's Core. And I'll show you the Pellucidar series pretty soon. This is by Bob Abbott. Tarzan the Invincible by Bob Abbott. I have two of those. Hooray. The City of Gold by Bob Abbott. And The Leopard Man, you saw that earlier. This is a different year. They use the same illustration by the same artist, Bob Abbott. And if I'm going quiet on some of these, I believe they're Bob Abbott, but I can't prove it. Here is At the Earth's Core. A lot of science fiction writers at this time believed there might be an entire populated civilization at the Earth's core. And so I loved that artwork so much, I just had to use it for my hardcover edition. And I enhanced the colors a little bit. Found this great looking monster for the spine, and there's one of the original cover illustrations. Here is The Land That Time Forgot, made into a great movie, by the way. Here's the Ace paperback edition of that. Cover art here by Roy Krinkle. This is Ace F213. And then another Ace edition, The Land That Time Forgot. Cover illustration by Vincente Segrellis, 1979. Forgive me on the pronunciation there. But a great cover. The Land of Terror, covered by Roy Krinkle. This is book 6 of the Pellucidar series. The People That Time Forgot, 1963. Cover illustration by Roy Krinkle. Here's Beyond 30, a slightly larger paperback than usual, written by Edgar Rice Burroughs. This cover art is by R.W. Boucher, the year 2001. And I thought I'd show some of the amazing stories, reproduction pulps that I've made. I started making these just to get to the John Carter stories. And then I started just going crazy and making as many amazing stories as I could, but I'll show you the John Carter covers. Here's The Monster Men, cover by Frank Frazetta. Ace F-182. Out of Time's Abyss. Here's Beyond the Farthest Star. And Back to the Stone Age. Cover art by Roy Crinkle. And here's a Dell book, Cave Girl. The cover art here is by Jean DeViginis. Paula's going to have to help me pronounce that. And my Ace edition of the Cave Girl, cover art by Roy Crinkle. I can pronounce that one. Both of them look stunning. And here's The Lost Continent, a later Ace edition. And here is The Writer, cover by Frank Frazetta. If you like that image, you think, oh, I sure wish he was facing the other direction, just turn the book around, and there you have the same image. And The Girl from Hollywood. Edgar Rice Burroughs wrote many different themes, different genre, if you will. That was a 100-year-ago Hollywood story. Here's kind of a murder mystery type, The Efficiency Expert. The Outlaw of Torn, covered by Roy Crinkle from 1968. And the other edition of The Outlaw of Torn, also by Ace. This is a Frank Frazetta cover. The Lad and the Lion, this is not Tarzan, it's somebody else. Covered by, well, you can see it there on the screen. 1974. Now, some of you wonder how I make my dust jackets. I just find old books like this that are 100 years old or almost. Here's another spare edition I have, a Pellucidar. And I find out what the cover was supposed to look like. And I try my best to reproduce it by getting many images of it, and splicing a few together if need be, and retouching some areas. I believe in this one I just reshrank the title and put it down at the bottom there. Figure out a good spine design and then the back cover. Here's my hardback of Tanar of Pellucidar. These are a part of the Pellucidar series, At the Earth's Core. And I got this back cover art from the Ace edition, which I'll show you shortly. Here it is. Here's the Ace edition of Pellucidar by Roy Crinkle. and a Frank Frazetta edition of the Savage Pellucidar. This was book 7 in the series. I may have said there's 5 or 6 books in it. There's really 7 books. So if you watch long enough, I get my facts straight eventually. Here's my hardback edition of Jungle Girl. They would later change this name to The Land of Hidden Men, so I put both titles on the spine of my edition just to help me keep track of it. This back cover is from the Ace edition, art by Roy Krinkle. Which I thought was so outstanding, I had to use it. Here is the Ace edition from 1969. Another earthquake here. Here's the Mad King. And my copy of Ace, the Mad King. Which image was so great I had to use it for the back cover. Now he wrote a couple of westerns. Here's one of them called The War Chief. And this back cover is the front piece of the inside, so I thought I'll just make that the back cover. And here's the Mucker. It's kind of like a turn of the century Chicago tough guy who ends up going on all kinds of adventures overseas and then into the Wild West. Here is the Eternal Lover. And I don't know if that name gave them any trouble. People might think it's just a romance book, so they changed the name to The Eternal Savage when it became a paperback. Here's a British edition. Just loved that dinosaur dragon on the back cover there. And here's my Ace edition with the name change, The Eternal Savage. Now this last book is not by Edgar Rice Burroughs. It's a kind of a strange way to end a Edgar Rice Burroughs tribute. But this was not authorized. This was written by Barton Werper. The cover art, 1965, by Jack Endwell. So there you have it. A strange way to end an Edgar Rice Burroughs tribute, but this particular author wrote a few editions, and I happen to have one just kind of as a novelty's sake. I haven't read it to find out if he was a worthy successor to Edgar Rice Burroughs. I'll leave that up to somebody else, but just thought you'd like to see it. Now I'm just messing around. So we'll say goodnight to everybody. I thank you all for watching this edition of Paperback Reader. And until then, happy reading. All right. Thanks, guys, for watching. And I'm getting a big echo. I have no idea why. But I'll say goodnight. Thank you for putting up with the early problems. So if Jackson Roykirk can give a link to Dr. Silver Age in the chat, that would be great. And then if he could come up with the pull the plug icon. But I didn't plan on coming out here and seeing much, but I'm going to remove this. There. Okay. Thank you, guys. And like I said, if you heard me or not, thank you for putting up with the early problems. I'll try to trim that out for the future edition. But yeah, holy uh, yes, I'm in the Hollow Earth. Uh, when I was doing the Tarzan books, I went outside to the jungle here, and that's where you heard all the bugs and stuff. Yeah. So anyway, watch Dr. Sobreak. There he is. If you're wondering who that is, watch him Saturday mornings. And I think he's got a show coming up. But you bookmark it, check it out later. And here's that link. Thank you. And with that, I'm going to go because it's crazy noise. So good night, folks, and have a great time. Bye.